Therefore, pay unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God the things that belong to God. You know, I made a promise to my grandfather before he passed away 2 years ago that I would never preach about money. And luckily, I don't have to break that promise today. But taxes are a very tricky thing. Taxes are something that are a certainty in life. We live, we die, we pay taxes, whether we like it or not. And when I think about taxes, today especially, it's a very private thing. It's something that nobody likes to talk about. It's just something that's going to happen. We do it through the mail, and it's done. Simple process. But it's not the way that it was when Jesus' day was around. If anybody had seen the Chosen series, you would know that the way that you would pay taxes in those days, it was a very public spectacle. You had a tax collector booth right in front of you. You had a line full of people ready to pay their tax to Caesar, to talk to a tax collector, somebody who was a wretched person who was born of their race but worked for the Romans. The Romans were using taxes not just for money, but as a way of subjecting the people who were under them. It was a tool for control. It was a tool to keep them in line. And so you would line up and you would get ready. You'd have your tribute ready to go. And then if you were able to pay that tax, you would drop it, walk around, a little happy because you're not one of those that couldn't do it. But you would have to see on your way out people in line who couldn't afford to pay these taxes, but they still had to line up. All they had were their sorrows. All they had were their empty pockets, but they still had to present themselves. And today, like I said earlier, taxes aren't really a public spectacle anymore. It's more of a private thing. But today we still have something that is a public spectacle. We have something not financial currency, but rather social currency, where we have to present ourselves to the public with only our best, our polished self, our most shiny self, the self that has the good-looking family, the self that has the beautiful car, the beautiful new home, these things that we present ourselves, the things that we present to social media. You know, we judge ourselves also whether or not it's a postable instant. Like, is it worth putting online? Is it worth showing to other people? We feel like we have to live a life full of highlight reels, something that was good, only the good stuff, never the bad. But for anybody who's played sports, anybody who's watched America's Home Videos, you know for every highlight reel, there's a blooper reel. There's something that you're not really proud of, and it's in our lives too. There are things in our lives that we just don't want to bring up to the surface. We don't want to talk about. It's our mistakes, our failures, things that aren't so shiny, things that make us sad, things that make us mad, things that make us furious. And we don't want to bring them up, but they're still there. These are the darkest moments. These are the moments that we sympathize with those who are about to pay the tax to Caesar, the Romans. And these are the people that Jesus is addressing in today's gospel. These are the people in the midst. It's not just the Pharisees and the Herodians. There are people just like us who are standing in the congregation listening to Jesus explain, give unto Caesar what is Caesar, but God to what is God's. And when he takes the coin, what does he see on the coin? He sees an image of Caesar. But also, Jesus says, the inscription. And if you look it up in history, we have physical copies of what that coin must have looked like. And around the edge, just as we say, in God we trust on our quarters, it says, Tiberius Augustus Caesar, son of the divine Augustus. Basically saying, Caesar is the son of God. And he looks at it, he looks at that image, and he recognizes it's just metal. Copper, silver, maybe gold. And he says, okay, give that to him. But he looks out into the crowd and he sees other images. He sees the people of God. He sees people like you and me. And today he still looks at you through the Holy Mass. He looks at each and every one of us, all of us, as images of God. And inscribed on our hearts is that identity, a beloved child of God, a beloved son of God, a beloved daughter of God. Each and every one of us belongs to him. And so in that way, we are, in a way, his coins. We are his people. And so what does God demand of us? He demands our highlight reels. He demands our blooper reels. Everything. You won the game, offer it to God. That's an offering. You lost the game, offer it to God. If you have this sorrow in your heart over losing a loved one, offer it to God. Are you afraid of what the future has in store, especially with things going on in the Middle East? Do you turn on the news and you see nothing is going right? World War III is on the verge. Everybody's just trying to scramble. That in itself is an offering. Is there an addiction in your life? Is there something that you just can't get over? Something that you bring up to confession over and over, or something that you're not confessing? That is an offering. And that's what we offer to God. The good, the bad. And it starts right here in Mass, my friends. It starts right here in Mass. It's not something that we say, okay, Deacon Danny, thank you so much for your words. I'm going to go home. I want to think of all the things I can give unto God, the good, the bad. No, it starts right now. Because when we collect our offerings, when the ushers walk down the aisle with the baskets, they're not just asking you for your money. They're asking you for your offering, your spiritual offering, that good thing that happened to you, that bad thing that happened to you. With your heart, place it in the basket. And watch as the gift bearers take your offering down the aisle with the bread, with the wine, because they will be transformed on the altar into the body and blood, soul and divinity of our Lord. But also, your spiritual offering will be transformed. We made sacred. That's where the word sacrifice comes from. Sacred, to make something sacred. And when Father is in the midst of preparing those gifts, your gifts, he's going to look at you and he's going to say, pray, my brothers and sisters, that my sacrifice and yours may be offered, may be acceptable to the Lord our God. To which you will say, may the Lord accept the sacrifice at your hands for the praise and glory of his name, for our good and the good of all his church. Holy Church. That's how we make a sacrifice. That's how we give God what belongs to God. That's how we participate in the Mass.